Guys, there another thing, there's 140 people in here. Thank you for being here on a Sunday night. You guys rock. We're already 11K in likes. If you can do us all a favor, hit that send button down on the bottom right hand corner, share it out. Somebody is going to want to hear this information that may or may not know about it. That's the first thing. The likes, the gifts, we thank you in advance. This is an interactive show. It's not just the three of us talking. What you guys are saying in chat, we want the communication to be had. We want you guys to participate in what we're talking about. Moreover, we have great moderators in here. Please, moderators, if you see a question, wait, can they pin it with three people? No, they can't. So if I don't write down your question, keep asking it. I will usually point at the screen and say, "Yeah, got it, thank you," or I'll just nod. But I will write down these questions at the very end of the show. We are going to ask the questions, your questions, to the guys. Now, I'm not going to say that we're going to know the answer, but if we don't know the answer, we're just going to tell you we don't know the answer, or we'll look it up on the spot, or we'll come back with information.
Yeah, guys, tapping the live, reposting it so that it ends up on the timeline, and also sharing it out is the best way to kind of help us out and expand more people, more eyes and ears to listen to the information that we're going to provide tonight. We absolutely appreciate every single one of you guys in here, especially a lot of the content creators themselves. Thank you guys for coming in and supporting us. Hopefully that you guys walk away from this live with learning at least one thing new. That's really all that we're looking for.
Gentlemen, I know we talked before, or I sent you guys a message. Typically how this goes, last two times anyways, is I've gone into the beginnings. This is going to be a meaty one. So if there's any time that you guys want to interject or take over, just do what Cosmic Crypto did and just hit the pause button and interject, okay?
We'll just raise our hand or something.
Sure.
Are you ready to rumble?
I'm ready. You guys good? Let's do this.
Yeah, let's go.
All right. So I'm going to start with the what is Chainlink. And again, this will be all three of us, so please feel free to interject. So the first thing I wanted to say, guys, is there's two distinct entities. There is the network Chainlink, which is a decentralized oracle and a cross-chain interoperability network, like the middleware that lets smart contracts read and write real-world and cross-chain state securely. Then there are link tokens. Very important for people to differentiate the two, because one is not, so Link is not a native token to Chainlink. I'm not saying it's not going to go anywhere. Anyways, but the reason why I'm saying this is because I want to make sure everyone's clear about that. There are 1 billion tokens with a current circulating supply of 517 million. Link tokens are the digital asset token used to pay for services on the network. What part does Link play in the role for this? Well, the smart contracts that request the data pay Chainlink node operators in Link for their services. The prices are set by the node operators based on the market conditions and demand for the data. Node operators also stake Link to ensure long-term commitment to the project. It's similar to the proof of stake consensus mechanism. Chainlink operators are incentivized with Link rewards to encourage acting in trustworthy manner, which we're going to get into quickly, probably fairly soon, and keeps people from being malicious, essentially. Anything you gentlemen want to add to that?
I know 150 people just watched me spill coffee all over myself. Well, yeah. Look, I mean, part of the reason that we do focus on these particular projects is because we can see in the traditional financial system that there are friction points, and usually the ones that the chains or any company out there that solved a friction point for the public or for enterprises or corporations would typically the most successful one. And Chainlink is just one of those. Chainlink at its very basic is like a data layer for a new financial system. It really makes blockchains smart, I guess. because most blockchains don't actually see what's going on. They're in their own siloed system. It's all fragmented. Blockchains can't see the prices. They can't see data from the banks. They can't see FX rates. They can't see stock prices. They can't see anything that's going off of the chain. Blockchains are quite literally blind. And that's really what Chainlink is. It's kind of showing them. It's that interoperability on and off chain, but also between chains. I think the simplest way that I can kind of word it to people is a blockchain would be like a cell phone without any internet. Yeah, it works. There's things, but a cell phone without internet doesn't really do anything. And that's really where Chainlink steps in. Smart contracts with the Chainlink's integration helps automate markets. It helps move money. It helps replace the old plumbing financial system in with the new one. And I think that that's why institutions, banks, exchanges, payment networks, they are really looking and deploying with Chainlink because they want something that's decentralized, it's secure, it's audible, it has trust in it. That's really what Chainlink provides. Anything you'd like to say?
We're gonna take that as he's busy for a second. Yeah, we're gonna deep dive into this. I know you guys are already asking questions. It's amazing. Thank you for that. I'm gonna pretend that some people on here don't know anything, just so we really are all on the same page as for when we leave here. There are three steps in this. There's in Chainlink. So first, there's the Oracle selection. A Chainlink user drafts a service level agreement, which is an SLA, specifying a certain set of data requirements. The Chainlink software then uses the SLA to match the user with the most appropriate oracle that can provide the data. Once the parameters are set, the user submits the SLA and deposits their Chainlink or link cryptocurrency in an order matching contract, which accepts bids from oracles. That's the first step. So that's the oracle selection. The second step is data reporting. This step is where the oracles actually connect with the external data sources to obtain the real world data requested in the Chainlink SLA. The data is then processed by the oracles and sent back to the contracts utilizing the Chainlink service. So the second step is data reporting. The third step is result aggregation. The final step in the process is to tally the result of the data collected by the oracles and return it to what's known as an aggregation contract. The aggregation contract takes the data points, assesses the validity of each, and returns a weighted score using the sum of all the data received. And this is essentially what's called a smart contract. Okay, so there's oracle selection, data reporting, and result aggregation. Do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I'd like to give my own take on that. As Caveman said, Chainlink basically does one of three things. One of the things that it really does very well is oracles. It feeds like real world data into the blockchains. This could be data for prices, FX rates, any kind of yields, really anything. So it'll feed real world information into the blockchains. The second thing that Chainlink does is it sends blockchain data out of the blockchain, and that goes out to banks and institutions. So the traditional world and crypto can quite literally talk to each other without having to change any of their underlying tech stack. The third thing that it allows it to do is it automates transactions across a multitude of different systems. So this is really where Chainlink's smart contracts actually come in. And basically, a smart contract, at the very simplest definition, is it's a contract that will trigger after a series of events are executed. So if this happens, then this is what's going to happen, but on a global scale. And that's really what Chainlink, the three things that Chainlink is doing.
I love that you absolutely, so that was the next thing. It was two things. Jessica mentioned it. Lots of vocab. You're absolutely right. The two next things were vocab. So there's Oracle and there's smart contracts. Bully just went through what a smart contract is. I mean, I would add that it's automatically executes, controls document events and things like that. But the Oracle, what an Oracle is, guys, for people who don't know, it's specifically for blockchain Oracle. It's entities that connect blockchains to external systems. They enable smart contracts, which was what Bully just talked about, to execute based upon inputs and outputs, which is also what he just said, from the real world. Think of it like you have on-chain code and off-chain infrastructure. That is literally what we're talking about right now. Okay. Be the change. Do you want to add anything, buddy?
Sorry about that, boys. I have an elevator in my building, so I had to wait for that bad boy.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I mean, it's what is it? What is it really solving? I think is kind of the question, right? And since you're kind of going through all of the different types of terminology, what is in essence like if I'm just brand new and I'm coming into this space, what is the purpose of the token? Like why need a chain link?
Bully?
Yeah, basically at its core is interoperability. It's the ability to allow blockchains to talk to each other. It's the ability to allow on-chain and off-chain institutions or networks to communicate with each other, and as well as the automation of financial information. Without that, you're never going to see TradFi and any fintechs actually come together. So in order for traditional finance to come in and blockchain to work with each other, there's a multitude of financial messages or any type of data that has to be talked about, right? This could be, when you talk about financial messages, it could literally be, okay, well, what's the price of Bitcoin? What is the yield on Ethereum, right? What is the FX rates? Stock prices, any of that information that doesn't actually live on the chain, all of that lives in traditional finance. Well, Chainlink allows that to come onto chain and to actually start to integrate in with these smart contracts so that they can properly start to execute things. So it's really just interoperability. It's that connectiveness between on-chain, off-chain, chain to chain. Without that, you'll never see traditional finance come in and merge in with fintech.
So, guys, we the one thing we always look at is like, what does it do? What purpose is it serving? And the next thing is, who's behind the project? Do you guys want to talk about who's behind the project?
Yeah, Sergey? Is
Yes,
that the guy? Is that his name?
that's one of them.
He's got
Sergey
to be Russian,
Nazarov.
right? He's got to be Russian.
Yes.
What do you?
Sure. We could. I mean, we can talk about it. What is? Yeah, I guess. Did we go through the origin story? Sorry,
No,
I
go
missed
ahead.
a little bit.
You can absolutely.
Give me just one second.
Yeah. So I'll tell you the things that I know while we're waiting. Um, Interesting enough, he graduated. Both the co-founders graduated from New York University. So shout out to New York. I know Bully's from there. So Sergey was philosophy and like a bachelor degree in philosophy and management, which is pretty crazy. And then software engineer at Google, but that wasn't it. Do you guys have anything else on him? By the way,
No, sh-
graduated in 2007. So like, good
yeah,
for him.
it was really interesting too because early on, like there's a lot of these guys had a major presence. Sergey was never, at least from what I can see, was never kind of like a hype guy, right? Just somebody who has always talked about the consistencies of what it was or the problem that they were solving, right? So, and I kind of like that. We talked about Algorand last week and how there wasn't too much marketing dollars really spent on that. It was more so just what can I do to change the real world in this. So um, Sergey was at it. What was the year? 2013?
When they launched,
Yeah,
white papers were 2017.
gotcha.
The he so he went to this guy's a serial entrepreneur. I love the guy in that like the serial entrepreneur like mentality. He had like three companies before that, all in like in all and around blockchain. And he also was I think he worked for Google. right?
Wait a
Yeah,
minute.
I'm
Did
pretty
you
sure.
just say in and all of around?
He did.
In and around.
In and around?
Is that not a expression where you're from?
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yes, you're right. So 2017 is the year, correct? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. And from my understanding, this is when kind of Steve Ellis enters the equation, right? In 2017, you had Steve Ellis, who was a secure asset exchange engineer. They launched this project. It was called the Decentralized Oracle Network. And it wasn't just, necessarily a project, right? It was more so like AWS or TCP IP for smart contracts. Um, Other projects launched on Hype. Chainlink launched with a white paper and mission. So did we talk about the white paper yet?
Not yet. We're about to
Okay.
get there.
All right, cool.
Um, yeah. So I mean, you basically had three people at the very beginning that were instrumental to this company, into what became the company. Do you have anything you want to add, Bully, about Ellis? Or
Nope, you guys are kicking ass. Keep going.
all right. It's important, guys, that we're not talking about like people who are just random guys in their basement. These are guys who are like literally. I mean, Ellis was a software engineer. He co-founded Secure Asset Exchange, and he served as their CTO. Then he became the CTO of Chainlink, or what became Chainlink. I think it was like, what was it called before? Contracts.com, I think. Um,
Yeah, I think so.
and Ellis was instrumental in the first version of the white papers. So super crazy. I know you're like chomping at the bit there. Change. Let's talk about it. 2017 white paper and ICO. For people who don't know what ICO is, before Change says this, ICO is an initial coin offering. Another thing we need to talk about. Specifically, Link launched as an ERC20 token. Do you want to talk about the white paper and then Bully, you talk about the ICO?
Yeah, Bullet,
Change.
did you have the white paper in front of you? If not, I can just kind of give you a more of a bird's eye view a little bit. Oh, cool, you got it right there. Well, I can't read that, so I'll just read what I have. It was the problem defined, right? An Oracle problem. Smart contracts are powerful, but they can't access APIs. They can't fetch market prices, real bank data, and verify off-chain collateral, or receive IoT, Internet of Things, or IoT sensor data. Why is the question? Well, it's because they remain deterministic and isolated for security, meaning no external connections. That created the Oracle problem. If a smart contract relies on a centralized source of truth, the contract is only as secure as the source. So the entire point of decentralization would have been lost. So the white paper then would explain blockchains eliminate trust in intermediaries, but off-chain data reintroduces that trust. Then you have um, built off-chain, a single oracle equals a single point of failure. So to have decentralized oracles to match decentralized blockchains was the first time anyone formally framed an issue at that point, right? So, when I said 20, what was it? At first I said 2012. I think it was 2012 to 2016 was kind of that smart contract oracle issue. And then here comes someone with a solution. Now, I don't know if you want to read any more into that, blockchain bully, at all.
To be honest with you, I was very unprepared for the white paper. Wasn't
Gotcha.
wasn't the wasn't the research I was looking at, but
No worries.
I'm
So
glad
Hey,
somebody covered it.
think of
hey
it like
guys.
this: what do we call? You should know this, bully. In The Godfather, what's another term for the Godfather?
What are you trying to say?
The
Don?
Don. The
What are you
Don.
trying to say?
The decentralized Oracle network, or the
Fair.
Don, were created, right? So this
Yeah.
this white paper essentially proposed a network of independent oracles pulling data from multiple sources, and performing an off-chain consensus. Now, what that does, it delivers aggregated signed outputs to the smart contracts on chain. So oracles essentially, are decentralized, fault tolerant. This concept is the backbone of the technology. And why is that even a benefit, right? Like, what's the actual layers of the architecture? And there happens to be three. So,
One second.
yes,
Change.
sir.
Brother, you're in 2021 now with their 2.0, and I love that. Can we reverse back to 2019 for 1 second, and we'll pick up on that in a second, guys. For those of you guys
Absolutely.
at home, we actually don't have like. It is very important to know that we don't sit there and talk to each other and say, hey, let's talk about this. We do our own independent research. We come here together with you guys and we talk for the first time about these projects. So that's why you have this sort of like living, breathing, whatever you want to call this, organism, something like that. Can we go back to ICOs? So, Bully, I wanted to know, I don't want to put you on the spot, but did you look up the ICO and what
I
happened?
know a little bit about the ICO, right?
Okay.
2017 it came out. I believe that they raised $30 million, and I think it was opened at like 9 cents, and it absolutely dumped after that. I don't know the amount of supply that was
1
offloaded.
billion.
How many?
So 1 billion, so 1 billion was their cap, but there's only 517 million right now in circulation. Um, yeah, it was. So I'll add to that just so you know. I mean, I'm not sure if you're there. 35% of linked tokens were sent to node operators to jumpstart incentivization of the decentralized Oracle network, and 30% stayed with Chainlink to fund future developments. So they really were interested in the continuation and the evolution of this network, so to speak.
Was there a
Um,
private sale for this?
Pre?
Yeah, I know we said 9 cents when it ICO'd, but did any investors actually get that any cheaper than that?
It's a great question. I don't know that answer. Does anybody change? Do you know that answer?
I don't know offhand, but I can find out while you guys talk.
Perfect. Let's do it. We'll get back to you on that one, Bully. Great question. Um, in 2018, so 2017, Chainlink had BCs. Thank you, BZ Fritz. 2018, Chainlink acquired Town Crier acquisition from Cornell IC3. At the time, this is a super, really, really important acquisition, just so we're clear, guys, for Chainlink. At the time, Town Crier was the first system to successfully use trusted execution environments. So, to successfully use trusted execution environments to securely trigger smart contracts on a live mainnet smart contract network. Massive. So, essentially, they bought out their competition, therefore making it one of the only games in town. 2019, mainnet and price feeds become DeFi's bloodstream. So specifically in May 2019, Chainlink mainnet went live. Price feeds, and this is what Bully was talking about earlier, price feeds rolled out and become the default risk pricing rail for lending, derivatives, stables, and perpetuals. Chainlink got the network effect that we all talk about first, essentially. 2020, deco integration. You guys up on the deco integration?
I know nothing about it, brother. Please teach
All
me
right.
something.
Tell us the
Let,
history, Doctor.
this enabled a user to provide the authenticity of data and claims about it without revealing the data itself. So it could prove the authenticity and not give sensitive data unless needed. Basically, what I just said, preserving web data proofs so that we can prove facts from HTTPS sources and we don't expose data, sensitive data. And why this mattered? Well, Chainlink became the credible source for regulated data and future RWA workflows. 221, Chainlink 2.0 vision. The white paper is 2.0. Chain, do you want to take that over with the Dons?
Yes, and I'm still looking through what what we were discussing in terms of the ICO, and yeah, there was there was no VC money. However, it was early investors, private, strategic, mostly crypto native individuals, and no major VC firms. There was a slight discount, but there was no major partnerships, which is essentially kind of unheard of in the beginning portions, but they truly believed in that decentralized world, right? So not having any VC money was
Can manipulate
basically
it.
the answer to that. Yeah.
Hmm.
So
There you have it.
let me go back to the layers here. So we've got three layers here. We've got the on-chain layer, which is smart contracts specify what data they need and how many oracles must respond and how to aggregate the answers. Then there's on-chain. Chainlink has reputation contracts, order matching contracts, and aggregating contracts. And these ensure only trustworthy oracles are administering the bids. Nodes with good reputations get the jobs, and the final result is computed deterministically. So on the second is the off-chain layer, right? So the oracles themselves run those nodes, and those nodes are performing the data fetching, consensus rounds, transmitting that data back onto the chain. They connect to the web's APIs, databases, banking systems, Internet of Things, hardwares, cloud services, and any real world source. This off-chain layer is where real work actually happens. And then on the third one there, we've got what's called an EAS, or an external adapter system. And this is plug-in architecture. Adapters let Chainlink nodes connect to payment systems like Swift and PayPal, cloud systems like AWS and the cloud, enterprise APIs, SEC stock data, and weather and insurance nodes. Adapters are modular, which is why the network can grow infinitely. I'll pause there. Questions?
Not a question. For me, the one thing I would add to the Dons and the 2.0 update is one key thing I read when I was doing my research. It reduced cheating and manipulation of order transactions. The security deposit that's implemented now. So if somebody acts dishonestly, you lose your security deposit. So attacking the system actually becomes too expensive. I thought that was a really important update in the 2.0.
Agreed, sir. My fat finger, I couldn't get the mic. All right. So,
Hold on, hold on.
yeah. Uh, so I got a question. So, what did you think was the big major difference there? Like, I know how you think, caveman. So, when you see these updates, what's like the first thing that you think of? Do you think it's just, improved systems? It's just adaptation, innovation? What is your take on that?
For for me, if you're gonna have a network that is gonna be the interoperability layer for everything for all other networks, you have to make it foolproof. You can't have it be potentially um, misappropriated or have it attacked, or it can't be. It has to be without fault, which is a tall order because, like, at the end of the day, there are people behind these nodes, these validators, I should say. So to really create that, like, what's is it called, a Faraday box? Is that what it's called? So you
Yeah.
can't
Mhm.
you can't have any outside influence. It's built. The structure that's being built is in a way that is without fault, and therefore universally acceptable amongst all platforms and or chains and or governments and or institutions. This is what I would look at if I was wanting to invest in this type of protocol. I think it's not. I don't. It's so important. If you don't have this, what do we have? That's what I
Yeah.
think.
Well, and the reason why I asked that question is because what's popular misconception is that the things that we were talking about in terms of the updates were originally in the white paper. And CCIP wasn't in the white paper, proof of reserve, obviously staking 2.0, any of the automation networks. And that's because in the beginning it was, to solve one thing, and that's the Oracle problem, right? The rest evolved from the architecture. So same outcome, right? They're still trying to solve the problem, and as technology and you start doing these pilot programs and working with partners and all these different things, you start to kind of innovate, right, and build and evolve that architecture that is needed over time, which is what you like to see from any organization because it means they're nimble, it means they're still focused, but at the same token. Uh, did have to adapt with whatever's coming their way. So it wasn't truly in the vision in the beginning, but you like to see that.
Adapting is key.
Fantastic.
Chain?
Um,
I think
Bully.
blockchain wants to say something.
No, no, I'm over here giggling. Don't mind me.
Did you want to add
Uh,
anything more to that, or you want to go
nah,
on to
no,
2022?
we can go on to yeah, 2022.
All right, so September. I don't know how many of you guys in the chat were around in September of 2022, but at SmartCon, Sergey stood on stage and announced to the world that Chainlink was introducing Build, launched by Chainlink Labs. The program aimed to accelerate the growth of early stage and established projects within the Chainlink ecosystem. He also marked the launch of Chainlink Economics 2.0, which Change was just talking about, and announced that staking was on track for later that year. That same month, Chainlink ecosystem grew by 60 new product integrations that month, which at the time was, even now would be fantastic. Um, Anything you want to add to the staking, guys, for on staking of Link regarding maybe let's call it like nodes or validators or ensuring that well, keep going if you want.
Well, I guess well, can anybody do it? Maybe that's a good question.
That is a question. By the way, before you guys continue on that question, that is a great pitch or segment lead. Guys, this is your chance to ask questions. So if you have a question pertaining to Chainlink, please feel free to write it in the chat box. We will write it down and we will answer at the end of the show. Change back to your question.
Can anybody run a node or is that did you get it? Can anybody who can do it? The staking and the nodes.
Bully,
I don't know.
let's look it up. Put that licorice down, sir. I'm jealous. I actually really am jealous.
All right, we're looking up.
You know me. I like talking about the partnerships, the macro vision, right? Like I'm a I like looking ahead into the future where we have to start where the beginning was, which is fantastic. But I get the most excited when we start talking about where we're headed.
Agreed.
The answer is yes, but require specific hardware and software technical knowledge. Yes, yes, you can.
Perfect.
Like, yeah, so I'm gonna jot that down for sure.
If you rent a node, you can set up staking. Yep.
And I would tend to agree that Chill Whale would know that.
Now, Change, you already talked about this a little bit, but in 2023, you mentioned the cross-chain interoperability protocol. That's when it was launched in 2023. It was dubbed the Internet of Contracts. standard for secure cross-chain messaging and settlement. I went live for early access users on Avalanche, Ethereum, Optimism, and blockchain and Polygon blockchains, providing a solution for cross-chain bridge hacks. Can you guys guess how many bridge hacks there have been cross-chain? Give me a guess. What do you think? What's the number?
That's like counting sand on the beach. How could you
Yeah.
possibly ever find a range for that? I got no idea.
Apparently, Chainlink did $2.6 billion has been hacked
Uh,
on
over the course
cross-chain
of how many
since the
years?
inception of,
Okay.
since the beginning.
Oh, that's wild.
$2.6 billion is gone in hacks, which is why things like cross-chain interoperability protocols are so freaking important. 2025, Chainlink introduced a link reserve funded by protocol enterprise revenues that converts fees into link and removes it from circulating supply. Basically, guys, it was a buyback, a style system. So, yeah, I thought that was pretty crazy when I read that. It's allowing you to really just give, in a way, increase your price and allow your investors, early investors, to actually benefit from everything that's happening in the ecosystem. Anything you want to add to that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the 2023, 2024 is, you know, when did DeFi really explode? 2021 to 2023, right? So this is another one of those ones where it's like, kind of a silently building. But I think it was really around that time where major institutions started to take notice, and not only take notice, but also to start building, right? We can talk about all of those different ones, but I think that was kind of the year when things really started. And then in the background, obviously things were a little bit more forward facing at the end of last year, and obviously all of this year, because it is blockchain technology is we're watching it change in front of our eyes, how it's being utilized. But when you have places like the DTCC and Accenture and BNY and all these different projects, then the theory that blockchains cannot scale into global finance without trusted data and interoperability was kind of proven, right? So that was that CCIP, right? And that's that, again, adaptation or the evolution of the said product. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why you started seeing a lot of those 60 partnerships kind of fly through our news feeds over the last couple of years.
Yeah. Take it away.
Yeah, this is where things kind of get interesting, right? When we start talking about who is interested with Chainlink, right? Why do the institutions care? Well, guys, we know that institutions, they're not looking at memes. They don't care about the hype. They don't care about a tokens community, no army behind it. What they really care is about compliance, security, having something be properly auditable, prove that the data on there is actually real, and Chainlink solves all of that. Now, that's why you start to see the DTCC, right? You have, you even got Swift, which you got Swift testing Chainlink. You got the DTCC. Remember, the DTCC moves quadrillions of dollars testing with Chainlink. And 24 leading financial market participants with Chainlink to solve a $58 billion corporate action. Some of the names you have in here, you got ANZ, Citibank, HSBC, BNP, BNY Mellon. There are big names that are being involved with actually testing Chainlink. And these are not little names, guys. These are some of the biggest financial systems in the world. And if they're looking at Chainlink, that is something to pay attention to. And this is really what why we pay attention to it, because this is really what we're trying to push to you guys, right? The money is in the infrastructure, and the winners in this are the ones that the institutions have to use when that old system finally gets upgraded into the new system. So we all have a fundamental understanding that Chainlink is really data and automation of the infrastructure. When you have biggest clearinghouses, right, DTCC, looking to tokenize $100 trillion worth of assets coming onto chain, and they're taking a look at Chainlink, that's something to pay attention to. When you have Chainlink integrating with Swift messages to streamline tokenized funds with UBS Bank, this is something to look into. I don't know if you guys are going to read it. Did I just lose all of my highlights? I did. That sucks.
Well done.
Yeah. All I did was zoom in. All right. Well, fuck me. Yeah, there's big names, right? And essentially, when we talk about the merging of traditional finance in with fintechs, you have to have something like Chainlink, a solution like Chainlink that actually combines them. Because you can't run tokenized markets without it. You can't get prices of assets without it. You can't settle anything without the proper information or data. You can't automate anything without actual auditable smart contracts. And you certainly aren't putting trillions of dollars on chain without a trusted chain to actually integrate in with that. And I think that this is one of the dividing things that I believe why Chainlink will survive 10, 15, 20 years. It's the infrastructures that we're paying attention to, right? We say most cryptos aren't going to survive. Well, I think all of us kind of believe that Chainlink is absolutely going to survive. Most chains out there, they don't have the compliance, they don't have standards, there's no institutional interests testing on them or even looking at them. Most of them don't solve anything. And here you have Chainlink, right? They're coming in. Very different than your animal coins. This is infrastructure that trillions of dollars obviously is going to depend on. When we say regulations is going to come in and crush 99% of the market, the only ones that are going to survive are the ones that can provide real value. Chainlink comes in and they are proving that they can fit into this regulated, institutional grade, compliant rails that are being built. So when you have the DTCC looking to tokenize $100 trillion of worth of assets, when the world starts to tokenize things, whether it's stocks, bonds, real estate, FX, derivatives, carbon credits, anything, those assets need financial data, right? They need an ability to have cross-chain messaging. There has to be some form of secure automation. All of these, right? Price feeds, regulatory compliance. This is not optional, guys. This is something that's mandatory. A mandatory blueprint of what this new financial system is coming in from the BIS all the way down. I don't know about you, but you talk about competitors for Chainlink with the type of interoperability that they solve. Chainlink is leading in this lane. It's the plumbing, it's the data layer, it's the wiring to this new financial system. And I think that from what I've seen, the institutional integration in with it, I think that it's what the new financial system is going to rely on. What do you guys think?
One of the best quotes I heard from Sergey, and I think it was just on an interview, but someone was like, how could you explain this to somebody that doesn't know anything? And he said, smart contracts without oracles are like computers without the internet. So the computer, if you had it, it's fantastic, right? You could play Oregon Trail, you could, do Microsoft Paint, right? But what could you do outside of that? You couldn't really connect. You needed the internet for that. So yeah, man, these major players, these utility projects, these companies that are out there. I mean, that's the big reason why we focus on this stuff, is because there is a lot of BS out there. There is a lot of hype out there. But if one thing you could take away from this, and I love that, how many people are in here, and appreciate that, is that we kind of have, when we learn this knowledge and we start to understand what these what they're solving, we then know how to recognize what is a good project versus what is just something that's built off of hype. And and we have to do our due diligence as a community to do that research. But once we have enough knowledge, then we can speak to that, right? um Now, having wisdom is different, because having wisdom is actually using it and being a part of it. And that's something that, I think we're all, some of us at different stages of our life will be involved in blockchain more so than we even realize. I was uh at the grocery store. I was getting some football cards, and literally on the back of the football card, it says that you can download and start interacting and trading through blockchain technology. And this is on the shelf at a regular store. So the stuff is coming for us right away. I think it's going to be here before we know it. So these projects that we talk about, they may not seem like, oh, well, this is the price, that's the price there. This is all before any of this really takes off and is running 24/7, 365, day in and day out, for as long as we go onto this, Web3. So, sorry, I just wanted to rant on that one a little bit.
You know, Bully was talking about, different companies that are partnering or using it. There's two there that I would definitely, point everyone towards. SBI Group started with them in August of 2025, and then May 2025, JP Morgan Connect 6, which used to be Onyx. They're also working with Chainlink. So I wouldn't sleep. Now here's a question, guys. Do you know, if I was to ask you, obviously we know what the bull case is for Chainlink. Is there anything with this network that you, I guess, a bear case for it? Anything that you see that people should be wary of for you?
For me, yeah, I mean, the way that I look at it too, the integration with these institutions, it's by design, right? It's not, at
Mhm.
least for me, it's not something that's just, some article that you read and there's nothing to back it. We know for sure they were at the White House Crypto Summit. You had them speaking. At the same time Ripple Swell was going on, they had, what was it, SmartCon, and some of the same people that spoke at Ripple Swell literally hopped a cab and went over to SmartCon, and they talked as well. One of them being the presidential advisor. I forget his name now, but he had a lot of good things to say about both of those projects. So, do I think, um, fundamentally, could there be some issues there? Yeah, but that's kind of like the whole point. We don't really necessarily know what it will look like once it is a part
Evolving.
of, yeah, once it's a part of everyday life. And it's just, again, they talk about this all the time, the best technology. And this is what you'll hear from every single one of these guys. Sergey to David Schwartz to Charles Hawkinson, they all say the same thing. The best technology is when, the people don't even realize that they're using it, right? And that reigns true, because all the while Chainlink was doing all of this stuff for all of these years quietly, and then, it it was happening regardless, right? So I think by design you have these enterprise companies that have been around for so long in this industry that is very new. I still like the fact that when there is that consistency, when they do have those partnerships, it's really difficult for me to shake that. But there could be, and again, I've looked into this before, but when you look at distribution, you look at wallets, you try and think of, well, how does this interact on a daily basis, and how could that benefit me? That's one of the questions that I think we could try and answer tonight.
How does
Yeah, my
Chainlink
uh,
benefit?
my biggest concern with Chainlink is it's not a settlement, not a settlement token. So you may see this institutional adoption with Chainlink, but Link may not even benefit from that at all. The same way that you have these settlement assets. So there is a ton of institutional adoption from it, but it's not a settlement token. So it doesn't necessarily, in theory, I guess, equate to the increased price pressure of Link because it's not a settlement asset. It's an infrastructure.
But what do you say to the node validators that are, receiving Link and therefore taking it off the chain, right?
I think, yeah, I mean,
Burning the token essentially.
sure, but it's kind of almost very similar to the way that Ripple responds to their, I guess, supply. Chainlink always is constantly unlocking Link from its treasury, I guess, escrow. And Link also has a large majority of it in ownership. So as much as it's getting pulled out of the system, I mean, I don't really know the numbers of the amount of Link that they kind of are inflating into the supply. I know that it is predictable in the same way that Ripple is. It's on a schedule. But in terms of like this, in terms of, you see Swift, you see Swift, you see Euroclear. That doesn't necessarily mean that the coin Link is required in order to use this. I want to be clear with everyone. Just because you do see this institutional adoption, it's for the infrastructure. It's not Link is not a settlement asset. So that is something to consider when you want to tie it into your theory.
Interesting. Chill Will just gave us something here. SEC's 2025 crypto framework could classify Link as a security, according to DeFi.
I do know that because, again, it's, slightly, this is the difficult problem that you have when there are no competitors. It means everything kind of leans on you, right? And I know there's competitors out there, but by a margin, there's, they're far behind, right? So if you have, and this happens again, I mean, a lot, we talked about how much attacks there were. When you're dealing with, I don't know, crash of some kind, right? Since Chainlink's used by lending markets and these, cross-chain banking corridors, if there's any sort of liquidation event, could put a lot of pressure on Chainlink's feed. Is one of the things that I've seen as potential ecosystem risks, but not that it would fail. It just gives it that kind of gives it that issue, right? What everyone's too reliant on just the one thing, right? If we're talking about an interoperable world and Chainlink needs to be the end all be all, well, let's hope they got it right.
And for all intents and purposes, they are in my opinion at least, they are continually to operate in a way that shows that they're going to do that. The one thing I did, I was doing the research that it did say for a bear case that the oracle risk is systemic, that even in Chainlink, apps can be gamed through market manipulation at the data source layer. So the data that they're collecting from the other blockchains could actually compromise the actual data. So it's not Chainlink's fault. It's where the information's coming from. So that was another one. And that's just a systemic thing, right? It's not a...
On the positive side, though, ladies and gentlemen, ISO 222, right? We look at regulations and we look at compliance. Chainlink can be used inside of ISO 222 compliant networks, as well as I believe it's ISO TC 307 aligned as well, which is the standard for blockchain interoperability, things like that. But again, as I mentioned, Link itself is not the settlement asset. Chainlink is really there to provide the data and the messaging to those networks, but it's not the payment rail, right? It's not a regulated settlement token. So Chainlink's technology, as you see, can operate inside of ISO compliant financial systems because CCIP is is included in there. You got the price feeds, the messaging, all of that is baked into the ISO compliant messages. All of that is important. Did we really dive a little bit more into CCIP as I'm thinking about it?
I did
No, but
touch on it.
we've touched
So
on it a little bit, but let's talk about it because Sergey's the visionary behind it, and we were just kind of talking about the whole group. So yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah, that's really I think the CCIP is really the cream of the crop, right? So
what is CCIP?
So CCIP stands for Cross-Chain Interoperability Protocol. Chainlink has a multitude of different tools that they offer institutions, but I believe that CCIP is the one that most people pay attention to, and I think it's the one that's probably integrated the most for institutional adoption. CCIP is basically a bridge that lets different blockchains and even off-chain institutions like banks talk to each other. It's like a router, it's like a translator for things. As we say right now, blockchain is at its very early stages. Everything is fragmented. Everything's operating in silos, right? You have Ethereum on its own island. You have Hedera on its own island. You have Stellar on its own island. Even traditional banks, right? They're kind of all operating within their own ecosystem, and none of them can properly connect. And CCIP comes in as a bridge. Without it, you don't have money moving, right, between them easily. The assets can't actually move. The messages can't move. The smart contracts, they don't work together. The banks can't actually interact with blockchain or any type of DLT. And I think most importantly, as we see here, the institutions can't use tokenized assets at scale. So CCIP comes in, and CCIP really kind of fixes that, right? It breaks that fragmentation. It breaks the operation of silos, and you kind of get this one interconnected global system. And I think that this is really, when we talk about the friction point, this is what I think Chainlink is great at, is that you don't want these banks, they're not interested in using 10 different blockchains, right? Even though we say it's a multi-chain future, they want one means to connect into all of those layers. And when they want to bring that into their ecosystem, they want to work with, existing TradFi systems. They want to make sure that it's secure to really bring on trillions of dollars. They have to make sure that it meets compliance. It has to be auditable, there has to be actual protection. And I think that CCIP comes in, and that's why you see it, being tested in with Swift. That's why you see the DTCC testing CCIP. That's why some of the biggest banks out here have used CCIP in pilots. The time for proof of concepts and experimenting is over. I believe that they tested CCIP because it actually solves a friction point. It solves a problem that the banks want to fix. It's connecting the old system into the new system, and they want to do that safely. So when you start to look at all of the tokenization that's going to start to come on chain, stocks, bonds, FX markets, real estates, all of that, you need really one proper way, safe way to connect everything. So CCIP's job is basically to move tokenized assets between chain. It's to update prices across chains, right? Oracles, it's the data. They're moving data between the chains. It could also trigger payments across chains. That's the smart contracts that we're talking about. It can send secure messages through ISO 222. It's literally just the plumbing. CCIP is probably the one that I think is going to get the most institutional adoption because it's actually connecting blockchains to the global banking system. It's going to be the thing that actually makes tokenization work, right? You have BlackRock, you have Fidelity, State Street. They want to out everything off chain, right? Traditional finance, they want to tokenize. Well, how do they tokenize anything on chain if they can't connect to it? You need that interoperability between on-chain and off-chain to actually make tokenization work. Without CCIP, that new financial system, it doesn't go live. You'll never see it. CCIP is their cream of the crop, I believe.
Absolutely.
I would agree, man, for sure. And what's interesting too is like again, I'm big on consistency. I'm big on the types of leaders that kind of stick with the same ethos. And the one thing I did appreciate was we need we need the banks, institutions, we need the regulations, we need all of this stuff. The same thing that was being echoed from the community for extremely long time. It's now you start to see the page turn there, right? And uh, you could call him a futurist, but I mean, having involvement in the derivatives and options, lending, borrow, prediction markets are all things that were discussed in the white paper. So, the fact is you can kind of see where things were going. You built, products and services to mold and to capture that. And then you can kind of see the record speaks for itself. So that's what I'm looking at when I'm talking about, what it is that I'm looking for in, you know, the companies to get involved with, to at least have on your radar. And again, to somebody that's new, you got to remember that the technology itself is changing, it's evolving, but it looks like there's certain technology that's been in the works for years upon development and will dominate over the next, who knows, 50, 100 years. But we need regulations, right? Got to have them.
And what do you say to those people, guys? What do you say to those people who have been here for, a full 4 year cycle or an 8 year cycle? Few and far between, obviously, but or 3 cycles where they're like, "Oh my God, it's the same old story. I've heard this before. What the hell?" I mean, you're seeing it in the chat. What do you say to those people? Do you say it's time to like pack it up and go home, or what do you say?
Go ahead, Billy.
Are you asking me? What do I say to the people that's been disciplined enough to hold through the volatility? I say it's absolutely over. Make sure you get that job at McDonald's because it's over, bro. Just listen to the influencers, listen to the fear, listen to everything that's actually going on. This is Chuck E. Cheese money, ladies and gentlemen. No, on a serious note, I mean, look, we do these lives within a certain frame, and we can provide what we think, the research that we think is important to present to you guys. But you can go much deeper and find much more things. Hopefully, what you guys are seeing, and this is what we see, is this natural progression of growth in these chains. You have these institutions that are running pilots, these institutions that are looking into these chains. You have regulatory as well as compliance with these networks. I mean, the use case, right? We're proving to you that traditional finance has these friction points. And here comes something that is ushering in the solution, and it's being adopted, and it works. It's up to you to sit there and decide for yourself as an educated investor, is this thing, with the growth that we have provided to you guys, could this thing be worth more in 5 years? Could it be worth more in 10 years? Don't worry about the short-term price action. Look at the growth of the network and be patient. Be disciplined. I say that if you are a long-term holder of Chainlink, that's got to be kind of exciting. Regardless of the price action, you got the DTCC, Euroclear, Swift coming in. You got, look at this, $100 trillion of tokenization. Is it possible that Chainlink has something to do with that? I would say so. Is there another competitor for the oracles? I mean, I think Chainlink's leading. It's just a very exciting network with the growth of it, and they're sitting in the White House, guys. Come on, very exciting. I don't know. Be disciplined.
Change?
To somebody new or to the people that have been here?
Both.
To the people that have been here, I mean, they already know what it is, right? Like, Clarity Act is, and the market structure bill, it gives the the government and everyone else in it in the United States, the rules of the road, and then how to interact. What these designations are. I mean, I think Chilwell, he talked about the SEC. I know that anything to do with RWAs, tokenized securities, there's going to be designations. So what I can say is, sure, there's a lot of people out there that are saying this is, this is over. This is how it's supposed to look. Then you also have individuals who, been to the school of, Wharton business and run billion-dollar companies that can see that things are going to look different when we have a regulated environment with all of these digital assets. So to the people that have been here a while, just don't give up before you get to the finish line, right? We've all seen that video where you see some guy running miles and miles and miles. He puts his hands up before he crosses the finish line, and somebody blasts right past him because he's too busy celebrating. For the new people, I would say look into the projects in more detail. Obviously, we're going to show you a glimpse, but there's so much more to understand. The nice thing about Chainlink and a lot of these enterprise companies is that they have a really good kind of media packs. You have press releases, there's blogs, you can sign up for newsletters. There's so much that you can learn about the things that are going on with that, but don't take too much time. Once you see an opportunity and you feel like it's a good opportunity for you, then I would say, yeah, try and get involved. But you have to know what you're kind of getting yourself into, because in this space right now, there's thousands upon thousands upon thousands of projects. And I like looking at the top 100. I like looking at certain things when it comes to the team, and I like looking at the solution. It's a big problem to have, right? Everyone has computers, but it doesn't connect to the internet. Yeah, man, I want to have something involved with that. You've got people talking about how this could be we could talk about an explosion into maybe 10, 20, 30 trillion dollars in the next 10 years or 5 years, right? That's not a whole lot of time. That'll be here before you know it. So, yeah, just stay diligent, stay consistent. And Chainlink has been around for a while, and I love that. I love the consistency of projects. The dinos.
I would like to address something. Somebody, if I could find it, somebody had said that their concern was the token not actually being needed to be successful. It was Michael. Yeah, I mean, that's my concern, brother. And that's definitely the downside I have with it. But I'm going to try to leave you with something hopeful. I'm going to give you both perspectives to it. Yeah, institutions don't actually need the token. You're right. But that doesn't mean that it's useless. When you have Chainlink coming in and they're being adopted and integrated in for being probably the data layer for the entire tokenized system, even though the institutions don't need the token itself for that, the system, the Chainlink system, still needs the token, right? All of the staked link, right? That's your demand. They need to stake link for the security. The node operators, that's your demand. The fees inside of CCIP, that's your demand. What about all of the Chainlink that's locked up? I think as Chainlink grows, link is going to need to be staked. It's going to have to be locked. It probably will be delegated. All of that's going to grow with that. And look at Ethereum, right? Look at Ethereum. JP Morgan doesn't buy Ethereum. Citibank doesn't buy Ethereum. BlackRock doesn't buy Ethereum. But Ethereum became one of the biggest assets because the network itself grew. Chainlink is following that shoes as well. As long as the ecosystem is growing, then one could assume, if you're critically thinking, that the supply would reduce, right? The scarcity would start to increase. That would probably strengthen that whole long-term investor mindset of that model. So yes, even though the actual token is not needed, as long as the ecosystem is growing, to some degree, you will find that price appreciation with it in the same way that it happened with Ethereum.
you know, the three of us don't talk about price, and we don't talk about, like, here and now where it's headed. um we take a more macro look at things, and where it's headed. You just have to look at a chart and see that it was, all-time highs is $38, and today we're sitting at where we're sitting at. So, like, just based on that, not so much what's going to come next. Is it a good investment? I mean, you got to make that decision for yourself. But I mean, you know, we are in the process of adoption. We are in the process of getting, utility actually, unlocked. No pun intended. Um, I look at things like, for me, what's really important for myself when I'm doing these, potential investments, I want to look at where Wall Street's headed. So the Van X of the world, who have the ETPs going, Grayscale's Chainlink Trust. Like, these are what I want to look at to see if, like, if they're gonna put their money there, then this is potentially something where we can do well as well down the road, not today, potentially. I'm glad you asked that question, Bully, because a lot of the questions that people were asking uh, centered around Link, and whether or not it was a good one. I wanted to ask. There was a question by someone. It was really good. I want to know what you guys thought about this. They asked if you could please dive deeper into what a settlement token is and is not.
Hit it up, Bully.
This is my time to shine. Yeah, so you really have two distinctions in this field right now. You have your infrastructure layer and your settlement layer. It's really no different than, like, I guess the simplest way I can put it to you is, like, think of Swift, right? Swift doesn't actually handle any of the settlement. It's there to provide the rails, the infrastructure, the highway for that. It's up to the discretion of the banks, the central banks, to actually decide what type of assets that they want to settle on those rails. You have Chainlink, right? You have QNT. There's a lot of examples in here where you have these infrastructure layers. They're there to provide the highway. Your settlement assets are actually the vehicles that are driving on that highway. Without the infrastructure, the settlement doesn't go anywhere. So it's important to understand the difference between a settlement asset and the infrastructure layer. They work hand in hand with each other. And you start to see right now, I'm going to say this right now. A lot of the research that we provide is the adoption of the infrastructure layer. There are some examples where we can provide that these assets are being utilized in this as a settlement asset, where it is required to maybe tokenize assets or to bridge anything, of course. But we have not rolled into this phase 2 aspect where you have this mass institutional adoption coming on. What we are seeing from Swift, Euroclear, the DTCC, the European Central Bank, is they are doing pilots with the infrastructure. They are seeing if they can use this chain to scale into the trillions of dollars that will come on. When those trillions of dollars do actually start to onboard, that's when you'll actually have the proof on chain of, okay, they're using this settlement asset, they're using this settlement asset. A settlement asset is very simply, guys, it could be fiat, it could be CBDCs, it could be stable coins, right? These are your settlement assets. You also have cryptocurrencies that can be utilized as settlement assets. But none of those settlement assets move without a rail. You need a highway in order to receive it and to send it. That's the difference between the two. And if you guys are researching it, I guess, you know what, it's probably important to talk about whether or not an asset is settlement or infrastructure.
Yeah, what's interesting too is, like, we talk about the growth, institutional adoption. We talk about the ISO 222. I know that there's some. I think maybe this might be just a critic concern, but something I wanted to bring up is, if, like, institutional demand goes into a different rail, like a fiat rail instead of Link, it could create some the reliance on off-chain billing and could have fee mismatches. So, and I see an article here that Chainlink is actively solving this, but it was one of those general concerns, because you have to look at the good and the bad of every project, I think it's really wise and important to do so if you're going to, think about these things long term. So, um, yeah, the way in which these things are classified as is going to be um, very interesting for me. What other kind of questions did we capture, Daniel?
That was it, gentlemen. Do you, guy? I'll talk to chat for a second if you don't mind, guys. There's 125,000 likes. There was, I don't even know, 155 plus people here. If you have any questions, now's the time to throw it in chat. I've actually been watching the conversations, and there's definitely some really good alpha down there. So I appreciate you guys who have been contributing in a positive and constructive manner, because everybody gets a chance to learn a couple things that may not know. I did see, not to center somebody out, but I did see Alex come in here. He was on my live earlier this morning, and there was something he loved about Chainlink. Alex, if you're still here and you would like to, chime in, I would love to hear your thoughts. Yeah, whether it's even in the messaging, that's fine. Um, Swift change to XRP, or what does that mean?
Somebody asked if we're doing quant next. I would like to. I would like to. Boys, what are we thinking?
Oh, we should probably do, yeah, let's reset and do this is the utility unlock, where we kind of talk about the different projects that you'll be seeing here in blockchain or crypto, and we do it every Sunday at 6:30 Eastern. Um, we like to ask you guys in the chat there what we should talk about next. So take a minute or two and let you type them in.
So Change is asking you, what do you guys want to hear about next week? It have to be a utility project, one that is got some meat. So we have a quant.
Let's go, chat. Let's go, chat. Let's go. I'm running for Q&T, baby. Interoperability versus interoperability. Guys, we typically go for about an hour and a half, but as long as I'm hosting, I think the panel can drop after we do our closing arguments or closing statements. I'm going to stay back a little bit, and I'll kind of have I guess, a hangout session with you guys. Caveman, Change, if you guys would like, we can do a hangout session and talk to the chat, maybe bring people up. But when we do finally finalize this Chainlink conversation, I will hang out for about another half hour with you guys.
Love it.
Love it.
Am I gonna write this down, or are we just gonna do quant since the majority said
We're
it?
doing quant, baby.
We might do quant.
That's it. Quant
Oh,
it
I'm
is.
excited.
I
We'd had no other questions about Chainlink,
Yo,
so
Web3's wild.
what is what are your guys' like thoughts on not just like just price, but overall, do you think that Chainlink is just gonna be here, even though there might be some long-term potential risks?
there's risk in everything in investments. Is this a project that I would consider investing in? Yeah, I would personally.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it follows my three pillars: the utility use case, it's solving a friction point, regulations and compliance. I mean, we'll have to wait for the Clarity Act, but in terms of compliance, the DTCC, Swift, Euroclear, you have huge banks touching it. They are not looking at an asset if it cannot comply with compliance or regulations. So that's a green flag to me, as well as the institutional adoption. It's moving in the right direction. I don't own any Chainlink. I know somebody had asked. I don't own any, but man, I would love to. I think it's a great project.
What about you, Change?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a long term when you look at this particular ecosystem. when you look at the partnerships, when you look at the consistency and the evolution of what we're kind of seeing unfold here, which is, this adoption of this technology to, not to quote it anymore, but, you could say Web3, you could say the Internet of Value, you can see the Internet of Speed and all these transactions. Yeah, I mean, Chainlink has been there, right? And they have all the players. And you like to see that. You want to be a part of the next Google, the next Amazon, right? That's what we're always looking for, is to get in early, which is what we're all doing here in this space, because has been an unregulated space, and it is shifting to a regulated space. Looks like pretty soon, maybe by the end of the year, maybe by the beginning of next year. But things are going to, I think, when it comes to the rate of change, that it's going to happen a lot faster than people anticipate. I love it. I love Link.
I'm sorry, Change. Go ahead. I'll address this after.
I said I love Link, but that's just because after I do my research, I'm say this is where I think my money should go. Later on, when I started looking into the community and stuff like that, it was it's an acquired taste, but it's still a great project nonetheless.
I got two things. C says Chainlink has started their own standards. Please elaborate on that. And Web3 Glossary, sorry to throw you on the spot, brother. He's saying traders saying I should sell everything. That's really the quite opposite of this show, right? We kind of focus on long-term investing. I believe that it is the safest form of investing for newcomers and even, well-seasoned individuals. I think it's also the easiest means to do your homework, to tell what's a good investment and what's a bad investment. But we are long-term investors in here. Even though I'm not financially invested into this ecosystem, I am paying attention to the adoption integration of it, because this is transfer. This is absolutely bananas. This is nuts. And there's risk in everything, as Change said. I mean, with names coming in, the DTCC, Swift, Euroclear, you name it. Look at this, okay? Look on this page. Oh, come on. $867 trillion in assets. Tokenization is a multi-$100 trillion opportunity for early adopters. I'm not saying you in particular, but I'm just saying, and you're thinking about exiting a position before $1 trillion comes on chain, before $100 trillion, before $867 trillion. I mean, what we're looking at is the proof of concepts. They're testing. They're looking into these rails, but the institutional money hasn't come onto these chains yet. I think you want to talk about risk. This is like I'll shoot myself in the foot if I miss out on an opportunity like this, because the World Economic Forum is telling me about it. You even have BlackRock here, right? Tokenization of asset classes offers a prospect of driving efficiencies in the capital markets. BlackRock is looking to tokenize everything. This is on Chainlink's website. They're talking about $867 trillion. I mean, there's risk in everything. For me, I would rather be looking at my investment than looking for it. I would honestly rather lose everything and have a bad investment than to do nothing and to watch $867 trillion come onto chain and I miss that opportunity. That's my mindset. I don't know. Maybe you guys could agree with that or disagree, but I don't want to be looking for it. Oh, which one is it? Which one is it? I want to be looking at it,
And the best way to do that?
Are you asking me? Yeah, the best way to be looking for it is to, one, research, and to be properly positioned. When I say looking at it, I mean not like watching this thing go up and going, oh, when am I going to get in? At that time, it's too late. I'd rather be looking at it as it's going up than looking for it. But one of it's all about research. It's all about looking into things like this. But if you're going to be a long-term investor and you see numbers like this coming onto chain, how could you not be patient? How could you not be disciplined? How could you not sit here and go, you know what? That might actually touch this investment. It might, as long as I did my research and I know my investment can, in theory, handle tokenization. You know, it's a theory that it's possible that a sliver of this could come onto my network. It could touch my network. I'd rather be looking at my portfolio than to be looking at the next gain, positioning, and research.
For sure. And just looking at, the what has happened and transpired over the last year, and kind of what we have seen here lately, over the last few months. I would say probably starting really in October, but I mean, there's going to be opportunities to get into all kinds of projects. Some projects that have, I think Chainlink is $8 or $10. I don't know what it's at trading right now, the second, but um, you want to make your money go as far as possible, right? And that's why you always look to some of these other assets that are lower cost to you. But you also have to understand, that we're getting a little bit of a discount, we're getting a little bit of a gift, and just to pay attention to it, because that doesn't always last forever, unless we're in a true bear market and it's just totally over, guys. I'll see you in 4 years.
Yeah,
I've
it's
seen it.
really the mindset of a long-term investor versus a trader. Hopefully we're here to kind of show you our perspective, and I mean, if you listen, then stay. If you don't, then zoom in on the charts. I don't know what to tell you.
Okay, man. Did you
Sorry?
have any more questions?
No, there are no more questions in the chat. That was it. Um, I guess closing remarks, guys, as far as like the official show goes. Anything you want to say regarding the project and or utility?
I mean, for me, once I saw them, at the Ondo Summit, you kind of see some of the people that speak about, the founder. The Steve Ellis is in the background, but Sergey, when you kind of look and dive into that, yeah, I mean, I think that it's got good leadership. It's got a good thing going, right? So, as soon as I saw that there was the, multi-chain world, an interoperable world that wasn't just, us or the highway or Bitcoin only, and all this other stuff, right? It was nice to see that it was going to be, integrating with so many different things. And again, it's almost just like one of those, kind of like XRP, right? It just doesn't go away, and Link isn't going to be either. So, my my bullish case on this is that it's going to be a major player for many, many years to come. So, yeah, definitely got involved. DCA, right? But I wish I got into it a lot earlier. I was focused on, my narrative has always been ISO, related, protocols. So, um, I know that Chainlink came around after, but it is what it is. You live and you learn. I sold a bunch of Doge before it ripped, so we've all had the moments where I was like, "Dang, you know what? I should have held on to that."
My last words would be a quote that I found. Chainlink is not trying to be the next chain. It's trying to be the default trust layer for every chain and the interoperability rail for tokenized capital markets. That's where it's trying to head.
It looks like they're
That,
doing that, right?
yeah. So that to me is a very bullish use case.
Yeah, closing statements for me. This is just my mentality. If you find a chain that solves a problem, a big problem that traditional finance is looking for the solution, it might be worth something. If you find a chain that can comply with regulations and has any means of international financial compliance, It could integrate in with traditional finance because it's compliant, because it's regulatory. It could be worth something. If you find an asset that has institutional pilots, institutional proof of concepts, institutional adoption, partnerships, it could be worth something. This is where everyone becomes their own educated investor, and they start to question them. They start to ask themselves, what could this thing be worth in 5 years, in 10 years? Don't focus on the price, short-term price action. I want to say this, right? The short-term price action is unsustainable until we have regulatory approval. I'm going to say that one more time. Short-term price action is unsustainable until we have regulatory approval. Don't worry. This is all price prior to the institutions coming on. Don't worry about the short-term price action. Focus on the fundamentals. Focus on the growth of these ecosystems. And this applies to stocks. This applies to any market out there. If you're watching something and it's growing, you could sit there and look and go, what could this thing be worth in 5 years? That is where you come in as an educated investor and decide for yourself if this is for you or if it's not for you.
Outstanding.
Absolutely agree. Guys, 140,000 likes, 155 plus people in here. It was amazing. Hopefully you guys got something from this live, at least one piece of nugget of information. That's all we're asking for, really. Obviously we just did Chainlink. Next week, we're going to be doing Quant as per everyone's request, which I know is near and dear to someone on this panel. However, we were here every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, wherever that is in your neck of the woods. Please join us. I want to thank you for all the gifts. I want to thank you for the likes, the shares. Otherwise, it would just be the three of us talking to each other, which is totally fine too, but way better when you guys are here. So thank you very much for being here. This live is not over. Blockchain Bully is going to continue.